My name is Allison. I have been married to my husband, David, for 7 years, and we have a lovely daughter, Christina. We were living happily together. In the beginning of our marriage, we both harbored dreams and believed that the happy days would continue forever. David was passionate about his work and a kind person who cared deeply for his family. We envisioned our future together, filled with hope every day. The first step of marriage was like a dream come true. On our wedding day, surrounded by many friends and family, we exchanged our vows with joyful smiles. Holding David's hand, I was excited about the new life that was about to begin. During our honeymoon in Hawaii, we talked about our future plans and spent a wonderful time together. The first few years of our marriage were truly dreamlike. We would go out as a family on weekends and plan special events to enjoy. When Christina was born, David was overjoyed, and it was evident he felt the responsibilities of fatherhood. I loved cooking and found joy in preparing delicious meals for my family. Our home was filled with love and smiles. As a new member of our family, Christina brought even more joy to our lives. Holding her tiny hands, we took our first steps as a new family. David felt the responsibilities of fatherhood and was even more dedicated to his work. I was proud of him and continued to devote myself to our family every day. Right after Christina was born, we worked together to adjust to our new life. We supported each other, sharing the joys and challenges of parenting. Every time we witnessed Christina's first smile or her first steps, we felt a deep bond. Our married life was going well, and our bond as a family was strengthening. David achieved success at work, and by keeping a strong home, our house became a stable and happy place. Christina grew healthily, and days of family smiles continued. We believed this happiness would last forever. However, as time passed, changes gradually began to occur. David's job became busier, and he spent less time at home. I was overwhelmed with caring for Christina, making it difficult to spend time with David. At first, it was just small things, but gradually, a gap began to form between us. Still, I wanted to protect our family's happiness and continued to make efforts. Despite being busy with daily chores and childcare, I waited for David's return and kept supporting him. Our married life continued despite the difficulties. Yet, I did not know that this peace would not last long. One night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on my marriage with David. Happy memories came to mind, but they were shadowed by a sense of unease. David had been coming home late recently, and our conversations had diminished. I wanted to know what was happening, but I lacked the courage to ask. It was around the time Christina turned 4 that a significant turning point in our marriage approached. As she grew up, the challenges of parenting increased. Christina was very curious and sometimes hard to manage. I was exhausted from raising her alone and increasingly sought David's help. From that time, our life gradually began to fall apart. David's attitude turned cold, and his words to Christina became harsher. I struggled to do something for our family, but gradually I was wearing out. I had no idea that the events about to unfold would significantly shake our marriage. They were things that encompassed the dream-filled days of early marriage to the gap that developed between us over time, the anxiety about these changes and the effort to overcome them. Perhaps our married life was a preparation period for the trials that were to come. I decided to renew my effort to repair our relationship with David and regain a happy family life with Christina. Yet, reality was tougher than expected, and we faced further trials. Nevertheless, I was determined to face any difficulties to protect my family. As our new life began, our future was a mix of hope and anxiety, but I vowed to do my best for my family. When Christina was born, we took our first steps as a new family. Holding her little hand, we felt the responsibilities and joys of parenthood. David played his role as a father well, taking the initiative to change diapers and feed milk in the middle of the night. I appreciated his actions, and I believed our family would continue to be happy. The first few months involved sleepless nights due to Christina's crying and frequent breastfeeding, but watching her grow was my greatest joy. Her first smile, her first rollover, her first words, everything was fresh and precious to us. David also rejoiced at each milestone, and it felt like our bond was getting stronger. However, the reality of parenting gradually weighed on us. As Christina grew, her curiosity and energy increased, and it became harder to take my eyes off her. Especially when she started walking, the house was always messy, and I spent all day cleaning and caring. David's work also got busier, and he spent less time at home. I was exhausted from handling childcare and housework alone, and gradually, stress built up. When David came home from work, he was too tired, and our conversations decreased. I wanted him to help more with parenting, but I understood his busyness and couldn't say much. Yet, my dissatisfaction grew, and it began to show in my attitude. One day, when Christina had a fever, I nursed her alone. David couldn't come home from work, and I felt a strong sense of dissatisfaction and loneliness as I stayed by her side all night. When David came home the next morning, I asked him if he could help more with the parenting. However, he responded with a tired look, saying, "I'm busy with work." Try to understand more. Those words made me burst into tears. I tried several times to communicate the difficulties of parenting to David, but his response was always cold, and a significant gap developed between us. I was doing my best to raise Christina and take care of my family, but it felt unrewarded, and I felt deeply saddened. Moreover, as Christina grew, her curiosity only increased, making parenting even more challenging. She began to have her own opinions and sometimes did not listen. I was doing my best to raise her, but the lack of cooperation from David became increasingly stressful. The difficulties of parenting also affected our marital relationship. I began to feel a distance from David, and my trust in him started to waver. His cold attitude and harsh words became a major stress for me, and I became increasingly anxious about our family's future. Still, I continued to do my best out of a desire to protect my family. Watching Christina grow, I resolved to do the best for her. However, the gap with David deepened, and my efforts were nearing their limit. The new life that began with Christina's birth brought us much joy, but it also brought numerous trials. Facing the difficulties of parenting and changes in our marital relationship, I continued to search for what I could do for my family. And the impact of this challenging situation on our married life gradually became clear. Since Christina turned 4, David's attitude had become increasingly colder, and the atmosphere at home worsened. Not only was he coming home later, but he was also mostly silent when at home, and his verbal abuse towards Christina increased. It was not uncommon for him to yell. What kind of attitude is that towards a father when Christina spoke to him? One day, Christina asked tearfully, "Dad, why do you ignore me?" David coldly replied, "Don't do things that make you ignored." Christina burst into tears, and I hugged her to comfort her, but a deep sadness and anxiety spread in my heart. I asked David, "Can't you be a little kinder?" But his reply was cold. "Why do I have to make the effort? It should be Christina who comes to me." I was at a loss for words. David's attitude escalated, and his relationship with Christina continued to deteriorate. Every time Christina tried to talk to him, he ignored her, And when he felt irritated by her attitude, he would say, "You're really annoying. Just go throw her in the mountains." I was shocked by those words and couldn't even tell if he was serious. I repeatedly tried to talk with David, but his response was cold. "I don't want to come home anymore," he often said. Using work stress as an excuse, he continued to stay out late, and our family was gradually facing a crisis. I was exhausted raising Christina alone and lost hope in repairing my relationship with David. David's verbal abuse and neglect left deep scars on Christina's heart. She started to avoid her father and expressed anxiety to me. Our home was far from the happy days we once knew. My love for David was fading, and I lost hope for our future together. One evening, when David came home, I mustered the courage to talk to him. "David, if we don't do something about our relationship, it's really going to fall apart. Let's discuss and solve this," I pleaded. However, his response was unchanged. "There's nothing to talk about. You always say we should talk, and that's why I don't want to come home," he coldly said, leaving me feeling desperate. During this time, our family relationship became increasingly tense. David's verbal abuse and neglect left deep wounds in our hearts, and Christina became more unstable. I continued to try to talk to David, determined to protect Christina, but my efforts often ended in failure. Afterward, David continued to stay out more, and our relationship grew colder. My trust and love for David gradually faded. Our marriage seemed irreparable, and our family bond felt completely broken. In the midst of these misunderstandings, our relationship continued to worsen. The crisis that had struck our family would soon create even more turmoil. David's verbal abuse and neglect increased, and he gradually stopped coming home. He made excuses like work is busy and started staying out several nights a week. I was clueless about what was happening and spent my days in anxiety. One day, I directly questioned David, "Why don't you come home? I understand work, but Christina is lonely, and I'm worried too," I pleaded. But David's reply was cold. "Christina is too noisy, and it stresses me out. I can't concentrate on work," he said, leaving me shocked. "Don't say that. Christina just wants to be loved by you. Besides, she's already asleep by the time you come home," I retorted. But David's attitude didn't change. "Shut up. It's not just Christina, you're annoying too." He snapped and went to take a shower, not listening to what I had to say. David continued to stay out, and our relationship further deteriorated. He said, "It's a pain to talk," and showed no interest in our marriage. I waited for him to come home, spending lonely days with Christina. As David's attitude grew colder, doubts started to creep into my mind. Was David really just busy with work, or was there something else going on? These doubts slowly turned into certainty, and I felt he was hiding something. Then, after David had continued to stay out, he suddenly made a new proposal. "Let's build a house," he said. I was surprised, but I held on to the hope that something might change with his suggestion. "Why the sudden idea?" I asked, and David explained, "You like cooking, right? So a bigger kitchen would be better. Plus, Christina is growing up, and the current house is inconvenient." I found a bit of hope in his words. Perhaps a new house could be a turning point for our relationship. "Are you really thinking about the family?" I asked, and David replied, "Of course. I want the family to be more comfortable." His words made me feel a bit warm inside, and I decided to try trusting him again. I was happy that he was trying to do something for the family. Maybe this would be the start of repairing our relationship. The design of the new house progressed smoothly. I enjoyed thinking about the kitchen, living room, and Christina's room, and my heart gradually lightened. David also actively participated in the design, and for the first time in a while, we worked together towards a common goal. I believed this would be our new start. As the house design progressed, David began to spend more time at home. We chose furniture and interior together, and moments of feeling our family bond again increased. Christina was also looking forward to the new house, and I felt like there was a glimmer of light coming into our relationship. As the completion of the new house approached, our relationship was once again filled with tension. The new house we had built for the family was about to become a place marking the end of our marriage, something I was unaware of at the time. Although I accepted the proposal for the new house, a deep chasm still remained between us. David continued to stay out, and when he was home, he hardly spoke. Our conversations dwindled, and our marital relationship became icy. One evening, I gathered the courage to talk to David. "Hey David, I feel like our relationship isn't working lately. If there's a problem, I want to solve it together," I said. David paused for a moment, but then coldly replied, "There's nothing to talk about." I was deeply hurt by those words. I just wanted to protect my family, but I realized that it was becoming a burden for David. The doubt grew stronger that there was no love or trust left between us. As David continued to stay out more, I began to distrust his actions. Wondering where he was and who he was with, anxiety and suspicion only grew. I lacked the courage to confront him and spent my days waiting silently for his return. Meanwhile, Christina was also sensitive to her father's attitude. She started asking me more often, "Why doesn't Dad come home each time?" I had to say, "Dad is busy with work," which pained me. Lying to Christina's innocent eyes wore me down, and my heart grew increasingly weary. One day, I told David, "We need to do something about our relationship. It's really going to fall apart. For Christina's sake and for us, let's talk." David replied, "If you want to talk so much, it's best if we live apart." David's words left me stunned. I had not realized how broken our relationship had become. His words felt like the final blow to me. I could no longer understand whether he truly loved his family or if he had lost all affection. Shocked by David's words, I suffered from sleepless nights and lost my appetite. I kept telling myself that I couldn't go on like this, but I was unable to accept the reality. While I strongly wished to restore our bond as a family, David's cold demeanor left me feeling broken day after day. Meanwhile, Christina was also troubled by her father's absence. She often woke up crying at night, asking, "Where's Daddy?" "I miss him," I comforted her by saying, "Daddy is just busy with work," but inside, I felt the same loneliness and anxiety. One day, Christina showed me a drawing from kindergarten. It depicted a smiling me and Christina, with David looking unhappy. "Why does Daddy look like this?" I asked her. She replied, "Because Daddy is always angry." Her words pained my heart. I felt deeply how David's behavior was affecting Christina. Determined to try talking to David again, I waited for him to come home and stayed up late into the night. When he arrived, I said, "Let's seriously discuss how we can repair our relationship." However, his reply was unchanged. "There's nothing left to talk about." He snapped coldly. His words left me feeling desperate. The reality that our relationship might be irreparable became increasingly clear. Communication with David ceased completely, and we lived like strangers under the same roof. Realizing I could no longer rely on David, I started to think about a new life for Christina and myself. Despite the pain of our estranged and chilled relationship, I resolved to move forward. This crisis had become a significant turning point in my life. As the completion of the new house approached, I also felt uneasy about David's sudden suggestion to build it. Was it really for the family, or was there another reason? My doubts lingered, but I told myself to keep moving forward for my family's sake. Our lives changed too. David became busier again, and the days he did not return home increased. Whether he was truly busy with work or there was another reason, my anxiety resurfaced. One day, David suddenly declared, "When the new house is finished, I'll sleep in the children's room." "You and Christina sleep in the bedroom." Surprised, I asked, "Why?" But he insisted, "Once I've said something, I don't change it," and cold air flowed between us again. David had once promised, even when we have kids, we'll always sleep together every day. Now, the idea of sleeping in separate rooms made me profoundly sad. I felt that his feelings had completely drifted away, and my heart was engulfed in despair. During the design phase of the new house, both David and I had tried our best for the family. He carefully thought about the kitchen size, living room arrangement, and how everyone could be comfortable. I appreciated his efforts and felt our family bond strengthening again. However, when it came time to choose furniture, I realized how different his tastes were from mine. The furniture and decorations he chose were oddly whimsical, far from my preference for a calm, wood-toned ambience. His choices seemed like something out of a fantasy world. "Whose taste is this?" I asked, and although he said, "It's my taste," I felt a disconnect. It was hard to believe he liked such whimsical things. Still, I couldn't give up hope that something might change with the move to the new house, so I accepted his choices. As the completion of the new house drew near, we were busy preparing, yet filled with anticipation. Choosing new furniture and preparing for the move brought us together as a family for the first time in a long while. Christina was especially excited about her new room, choosing her favorite colors and designs enthusiastically. "Mama, this bed is cute. Let's put a teddy bear here," Christina said, her eyes sparkling. Her smile healed my heart, and I hoped we might still restore our family bond. David, too, showed a gentle expression for the first time in a while as we chose furniture together. Preparing the new house felt like a fun game. We all cooperated as a family, and little by little, our new life began to take shape. Occasionally, David showed interest, suggesting, "What shall we put in this room?" It seemed the icy atmosphere between us thawed slightly. While working on the new kitchen's design, I rediscovered my passion for cooking. "Let's make delicious meals in this spacious kitchen." Christina can enjoy baking with me, I thought, enjoying planning the kitchen layout. David's smile when he said, "I'm looking forward to your cooking," was a significant encouragement to me. As the move to the new house approached, we became busier. Packing, arranging the move, and preparing for the new life occupied us, but we enjoyed the process. Christina dreamily planned what to do in the new house, and smiles returned to our family for the first time in a long while. On moving day, we stepped into the new house. The spacious living room, Christina's cute room, and the large kitchen I had dreamed of. Everything was new, and we felt hopeful about the life that was about to start. We looked forward to living in the new house, ready to make a fresh start as a family. However, contrary to our expectations, reality soon cast a dark shadow again. David became busier and started staying out more. Whether he was really busy with work or there was another reason, my anxiety returned. But for now, I told myself to keep moving forward for the sake of the family. As our new life began, we gradually adjusted to the new environment. Christina started at a new school and made new friends. I enjoyed cooking in the new kitchen, finding joy in preparing delicious meals for my family. David seemed to try to cherish time with the family despite his busy schedule. At the same time, we faced unexpected difficulties. David began staying out again, and his demeanor turned cold once more. I felt lonely again, and Christina became anxious about her father's absence. The new house was supposed to bring us new hope, but that hope gradually faded. Amid these challenges, I told myself I had to be strong for Christina. I was determined to face any difficulty for her sake. The new house was supposed to be a fresh start for us, a place to find new hope. However, reality was harsh, and our family was soon faced with significant turmoil. Yet, I held a firm resolve to carve out a new future with Christina. Though many challenges remained in our lives, I believed we, as a mother and daughter, had the strength to overcome them. As we settled into the new house, I renewed my commitment to move forward with all my might, hoping it would bring light to our future. Several weeks after moving into our new house, we were gradually getting used to the new environment. Christina enjoyed her new room, and I once again found joy in cooking in the spacious kitchen. However, I still felt uneasy about David's behavior. Our relationship remained cold. He continued to claim he was busy with work, and there were many days he did not come home. Even when he did come home from work, he would immediately seclude himself in another room, spending very little time with us. I repeatedly tried to discuss with David the importance of spending more family time together, but his response was always the same. "I'm busy with work. I'm working for the family, so try to understand," he would say coldly. These words often made me feel like my heart was about to break. Even after moving to the new house, David's behavior did not change. In fact, the days he did not come home increased, and our relationship further deteriorated. I increasingly harbored suspicions about him, wondering whether he really was working for the family or if there was another reason. Amid this, I reminded myself that I had to be strong for David. I was determined to face any difficulties for her sake. The new house was supposed to be a fresh start for us, a place to find new hope. However, reality was harsh, and our family faced significant turmoil once again. One night, David suddenly told me he needed to talk. We sat in the living room, and he began to speak with a serious expression. "Allison, listen. I have been hiding something from you," he said. My heart raced and anxiety washed over me. "In fact, I have another woman, and I have a child with her," he continued. The moment I heard those words, my mind went blank. "What are you talking about? Are you lying?" I demanded, but David's expression was deadly serious. "I have been in a relationship with her for 3 years, and we have a child together. That's why I built this new house, to live with her and their child," David explained calmly. I was stunned and lost for words. "Why did you keep this from us?" I asked tearfully, but David retorted, "I couldn't tell you. She is special to me." David's affair was completely unexpected. The reason he had not been coming home became clear, and my suspicions turned into certainty. "How could you betray our family like this?" I asked tearfully, but David bluntly said, "You didn't support me." His words deeply wounded me. I had tried my best to support him and protect our family, but it seemed he had not perceived any of it. David said, "Let's get a divorce. You two can't live here anymore, so get out," his words shattering my heart. Adding insult to injury, David's mother arrived at our house at just the right moment. She had already met David's girlfriend and sided with her son, telling me to leave because he was getting a younger wife. Christina could not hide her shock and sadness. She tearfully asked, "Dad, Grandma, why are you saying such things?" But David ignored her. Our family disintegrated in an instant, and I was at a loss. "What are we going to do now?" I asked, but David coldly replied, "I'm going to start a new family with her. You two are no longer needed." His words deeply hurt me, but at the same time, they solidified my resolve. I realized I had no choice but to start a new life with Christina. That night, Christina and I cried together. Holding her, I felt overwhelmed by anxiety and sadness about our future. However, I told myself that I had to be strong for her. The next day, I informed David that I was moving forward with the divorce proceedings. I think our relationship is irreparable. So let's get a divorce, I said. David coldly replied, "That's wise," and we officially began the divorce process. This event was a profound shock to our family, but I was determined to start walking towards a new future with Christina. David's betrayal deeply wounded me, but I needed to overcome this experience and become stronger. With the start of our new life, our future was uncertain but also held new hope. I resolved to face forward and walk with Christina, finding the strength to overcome this trial. The decision to divorce brought new hope to my heart. I vowed to do my best to build a happy life with Christina, despite never being able to forget the past with David. Overcoming it and moving forward was crucial for us. Although the new house was supposed to be a place for us to make a fresh start, it became a symbol of betrayal and despair. However, I embraced the determination to carve out a new future with Christina. I made it a point to cherish every day. Seeing Christina's smile made me feel like I could overcome any difficulty. Welcoming new days together allowed us to gradually start walking forward more positively. David's betrayal deeply hurt me, but overcoming it, I was prepared to do everything necessary to build a new future. One morning, after dropping Christina off at kindergarten, I stopped by a cafe alone. I hoped to find some peace in the quiet place. However, the music playing in the cafe and the cheerful conversations around me only intensified my feeling of loneliness. I took a sip of coffee and took a deep breath. I realized I needed to seriously think about the future. As the divorce proceedings with David progressed, I often questioned myself in my heart. Is this really okay? Can our family never return to what it was? But witnessing David's cold attitude and his attachment to his affair partner, my resolve remained unshaken. I was determined to move forward, overcoming his betrayal to build a new future. Days passed since David's confession. My heart was still wounded, and I lived in a state of confusion. However, I had Christina. While I felt nearly crushed by the weight of reality, I knew I had to be strong for her. I couldn't fully explain the situation to Christina yet, but she sensed that something had changed. "Mom, why aren't you and Dad together?" she asked sadly. "Christina, Mom and Dad have decided to go our separate ways. But Mom will always be with you," I told her. Tears welled up in her eyes, and my heart tightened. Our lives gradually transformed into a new shape. At first, I felt disoriented and lonely with the changes, but we slowly adapted to the new routine. Christina, too, made an effort to live strongly, staying close to me. One day, Christina asked me, "Mom, what will happen to us now?" I held her hand tightly and answered, "We will always be together. Mom will protect you, so don't worry." Christina smiled reassuringly at those words. Seeing her smile, I renewed my resolve to live strongly for her. As we began our new life, I felt there were still many challenges ahead for our future. However, I believed that Christina and I had the strength to overcome these challenges. I made a promise to myself that we would continue to live strongly for our happiness. As the divorce proceedings progressed, I endured each day. With David's decision to choose a new family, it felt like I had lost everything we had built together. The happy days we once enjoyed became a thing of the past, and I was forced to face a new reality. Discussions with the lawyer were conducted calmly and methodically. During negotiations about asset division, child support, and visitation rights, David never once softened his cold demeanor. His desire to finalize things quickly made me painfully aware that his heart had completely turned away from us. We had built many memories and assets through our marriage. However, with the divorce, I faced the reality of having to let go of most of these. The house we had lived in had to be given up for David and his new family. I needed to find a new home and began preparing for a new life with Christina. Throughout this process, I felt the support of many friends and family members. They encouraged me and supported the new life I was building with Christina. Yet I still felt a profound sense of loss and loneliness deep inside. The complete end of my relationship with David made me feel like I had lost a part of myself. One day, the final discussion with the lawyer took place. We met to sign the divorce agreement. David signed the documents indifferently, emotionless throughout. Watching him, I questioned whether he had ever truly loved our family. However, I knew dwelling on such thoughts was pointless. After signing, David said, "This is it." Then those words caused me a sharp pain as if my chest was being squeezed. "Yes, this is the end," I replied, trying to remain composed, but tears were welling up inside me. The moment our marriage officially ended, I felt a profound sense of loss. When I returned home, Christina was waiting for me. Seeing her innocent smile, I managed to muster some strength. I reaffirmed my resolve to be strong for her. Protecting her and building a new life became my mission. With the divorce procedures complete, Christina and I were ready to start anew. Though it felt like I had lost everything, my grandfather came to visit us, offering his support. My grandfather, the founder of a major corporation and a man I deeply respected, seemed like a revelation to us. He was aware of our situation and offered his help. "Allison, Christina, don't worry, I will support you fully," he said, embracing us firmly. First, he made arrangements for our new residence, securing a top-tier apartment to ensure we could live comfortably. Christina was thrilled with her new room, and we slowly adjusted to our new life. But my grandfather's help didn't end there. He also decided to directly confront David. As a major shareholder in the company David worked for, my grandfather used his influence to change how David was treated. One day, he summoned us to meet with David. "What you've done to Allison and Christina is unforgivable. However, you must not forget your responsibilities as a family," he sternly told David. David, pale-faced, listened intently to my grandfather's words. My grandfather demanded that David sign documents for his resignation, along with agreements for alimony and child support. David initially resisted, but eventually signed under my grandfather's formidable presence. This intervention drastically changed our lives. Furthermore, my grandfather provided us with a substantial amount of assets to ensure we would not face financial difficulties. With this funding, I was able to start my own business. Determined to succeed on my own, I wanted to make Christina proud. My new business grew successfully, and I became able to stand on my own feet. Christina made new friends at school and enjoyed her days. Our life gradually stabilized, and we began to look toward the future with renewed hope. Thanks to my grandfather's love and support, we were able to recover fully. His assistance was invaluable to us, and I felt immense gratitude toward him. With my grandfather's help, we then moved to our new apartment and started a new chapter. Initially filled with trepidation and uncertainty, we were now free from the anxiety and hardships of the past. David quickly adapted to her new environment, enjoying each day. I, too, felt ready to take a new step forward. Keeping busy helped me heal from past wounds gradually. While I could not forget my memories with David, I gained the strength to move beyond them. One day, Christina asked me, "Mom, can we be even happier from now on?" Inspired by her words, I responded with conviction, "Of course, we will be happier and happier." Her smile was my greatest motivation, and we were able to look forward positively. Although the divorce from David was a painful experience, it allowed me to discover a new version of myself. Christina and I strengthened our bond and resolved to walk through life together. As we began our new life, we could look forward to a hopeful future. The moment I felt I had lost everything turned out to be the first step toward a new beginning. I will cherish the days spent smiling with Christina, believing in a future waiting for us. We took each step forward together. On the first weekend after we moved, Christina and I visited a park near our new home. With its spacious playground and beautiful flower beds, Christina ran around with excitement. "Mom, I love it here," she said joyfully. Seeing her smile, I felt truly relieved. It was heartwarming to see her enjoying and accepting her new surroundings. In our new life, I also dedicated myself to my work. With support from my grandfather, I was able to start my own business. Although it was a new challenge filled with uncertainty, my days were fulfilling. I met many colleagues in my new work environment who supported and helped me grow. Christina also made many friends at her new school and was having fun. Watching her grow was my greatest joy. One day, she told me about something she learned at school, and her pure smile gave me courage. For Christina, I felt I could overcome any difficulty. Our new life was progressing smoothly, though challenges were certainly present. After the divorce, I often felt the heavy responsibility of raising Christina alone. However, with the support of my grandfather and new friends, I was able to overcome these challenges. My grandfather regularly visited us. His presence was a great encouragement, and his love and support sustained our lives. One day he told me, "Allison, you are doing really well. We are always proud of you." Those words made me tear up. I was filled with gratitude for how his love had strengthened us. One evening, while enjoying dinner with Christina, she suddenly asked, "Mom, we'll always be together, right?" Her words warmed my heart, and I replied, "Of course. We will always be together." Christina's smile was the greatest strength for me. The days I spent with her were my greatest treasure. Months into our new life, we began to experience more stable days. I found success at work, and Christina enjoyed her school life. As a mother and daughter, we enjoyed our life in the new environment, filled with hope for the future. Each time I realized how truly happy our new life was, I renewed my gratitude toward my grandfather. Without his support, we wouldn't have come this far. His love and support were invaluable to us, and I deeply appreciated him. In this new life, I felt my own strength and growth. Confident that I could build a new future with Christina, I vowed to continue spending happy days with her. Although many challenges still awaited us, I believed in our ability to overcome them. We were determined to live strongly and positively. Our new life had started, and our future was full of infinite possibilities. Together with Christina, cherishing our days spent smiling, we continued to walk toward our new future. One day, when everything seemed to be going well, I suddenly received a call from my ex-husband, David. He was repentant for his past actions and begged to return to us. His words surprised me, but I could sense deep despair behind them. One night, David was waiting in front of our apartment. Cautiously, I approached him and asked coldly, "What are you doing here?" After a long silence and a deep sigh, he said, Allison, can we start over?" His words made me feel a tightness in my chest. "I haven't forgotten what you did. You betrayed Christina and me and chose a new family," I answered calmly. David admitted, "I understand, but it didn't work out with her. I've lost my job, and nothing is going right." I could see tiredness and regret in his eyes. "It's too late now. Our lives have already changed," I replied firmly. David lowered his head and pleaded, "I'm truly sorry. Please give me another chance," but my heart was unmoved. Remembering the pain and suffering his betrayal had caused, I was certain that I could not go back to him. "I can't trust you anymore, and I won't let you disrupt our lives again," I stated decisively. David seemed deeply hurt by my words but did not give up. "I want to make things right for the family, for Christina," he argued. Christina's name made me hesitate for a moment, but my decision was firm. "For Christina's sake, I need to be strong." "Your return would only hurt her again," I responded calmly. David stood silently, motionless for a while. Eventually, I told him, "I think you need to rebuild your own life. We have already moved forward." Despite looking frustrated, he seemed to accept my words. "Okay, you're right. Thank you, Allison," he said. Then he walked away. After he left, I returned home and shared the event with Christina. She seemed surprised but relieved that I had rejected David's proposal. "Mom, we've been doing fine on our own," she said with a smile. Her words gave me strength again. Moving forward with Christina was my mission, and I was determined to live strongly for her. That night, I contacted my grandfather and told him about David's visit. My grandfather supported my decision and said, "Allison, you did well. Continue to build a happy life with Christina." I was deeply grateful for his words and vowed to continue living positively. Our new life was just beginning, and many challenges awaited us, but I believed we had the strength to overcome them all. By rejecting David's plea, we reaffirmed our determination to move forward strongly. Together with Christina, cherishing the days spent smiling, we continued to walk toward our new future. A few days after the encounter with David, our life gradually returned to tranquility, and Christina and I resumed our new routine. However, the incident with David still lingered in the back of my mind, and we couldn't completely escape its impact. One day, when Christina returned home from school, she was excited and said, "Mom, I drew a picture at school today." She showed me the drawing, which depicted me, Christina, and my grandfather, all holding hands and smiling. The moment I saw it, tears welled up. I was deeply moved by how Christina had established our new family in her heart. That night I told Christina, "I will always be with you, no matter what happens." "We are family," she smiled and replied, "Yes, Mom, I'm fine, because you're here at that moment." I realized again the need to be strong. For Christina, I was determined to overcome any difficulties. Yet David contacted me again, this time by phone. He apologized once more and pleaded for another chance. "Allison, I'm truly sorry. Can we start over?" His voice was more earnest than before. I listened in silence, but my mind was already made up. "David, I accept your apology, but our relationship cannot be repaired. Christina and I have a new life, and I cannot forgive your actions," I responded quietly. He persisted, "For Christina's sake, please reconsider." But I firmly declined. "For Christina's sake, we cannot continue any relationship with you." After a prolonged silence, David finally spoke, sounding resigned. "I see. I understand. Your decision is firm," I responded firmly. "Yes, this is the best choice for us then." Before hanging up, David added, Please take care of Christina." After the call, I sat down for a while, overwhelmed by complex emotions. Ending the relationship with David was a tough decision, but it was necessary for Christina's and my future. That night, I called my grandfather to discuss the phone call with David. He supported my decision, encouraging me, "Allison, you made the right choice. Keep living strongly with Christina." His words gave me strength again. The next morning, as Christina and I had breakfast, I embraced a renewed resolve to protect our life and face any challenges. For Christina, I was prepared to live strongly. Our final separation from David symbolized a new beginning. With his relationship conclusively ended, I was free to move forward without being held back by the past. While cherishing our life with Christina, we continued to march towards the future. Our new life still held many challenges, but I believed in our ability to overcome them. With my grandfather's support and Christina's smile as my greatest motivations, we could live positively. In conclusion, the separation from David symbolized our strength and growth. I vowed to continue building a happy life with Christina, believing in a bright and hopeful future, and we stepped forward.